Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for what I believe will be the 90th or 91st video in the poetry discussion series here on the channel. There is also a poetry review playlist here on the channel, and we're getting up there in numbers here. Are you crooked? Is this crooked? I can't tell. I don't care. We're going to continue anyway. Today's poem comes to us from the complete poetry and prose of William Blake. It is the poem A Poison Tree. And the poem itself reads as such. We will have a reading of the poem and then a discussion based on the poem. A Poison Tree. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not, my wrath did grow. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and I sunned it with smiles, and with soft, deceitful wiles. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright. And my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. And into my garden stole, when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning, glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. Now, I've seen a number of interpretations of this poem where it is about someone's anger growing and leads to the death of an enemy, basically saying that what happened here in this poem is that I was displeased with someone and kept it to myself, and that anger, that displeasure, grew and grew and grew over the years until it ended up with the speaker here killing the other individual, or especially with someone so biblically versed as was William Blake, it need not be an actual murder. It could be murdering in one's heart, right? It could be, I despised this individual until I had murdered him or her in my heart, and that is, according to some interpretations of the Bible, just as bad as an actual murder. I'd like to offer something of an alternative interpretation here, and it circles around that first verse. I was angry with my friend. I told my wrath did end. I was angry with my foe. I told it not, my wrath did grow. So what's the difference there? The difference is how out in the open something is. I told my friend, so there was no mystery. I did not tell my foe, so there was mystery. Or offered a little bit of a different interpretation on the English at play there. I told my wrath about the anger with my friend, and it allowed my wrath to sort of play itself out, so it ended. I did not confront the emotions about being angry with my foe, so having not encountered those emotions, fully played them through in my mind, that wrath was left to mystery to myself. In both of these interpretations of what it means, who you're telling there, whether you're telling yourself or I told my wrath, meaning that I told the other person, there is the percolation in that second half of the verse about the foe. There is the percolation of the subconscious to play with anger, to let one's paranoia, perhaps, work into a frenzy. All of these things going on, and what happens is we lead into that second verse there, and I watered it. Watered what? The percolations, I think. And I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and I sunned it with smiles, and with soft, deceitful wiles. that paranoia, that mystery from the second half of the first verse, that mystery where we are having to deal, where we are refusing to deal with the same wrath that we had dealt with the aforementioned friend, is growing. It's growing there. It is being nurtured by our speaker, being watered, as it were. That mystery has turned to fear. We fear what we don't understand, right? Everyone knows that sort of pop culture take on things. We fear what we don't understand. All this leads to the dark side, right? Well, what we're doing here is we are exploring the furtherance of what this lack of confrontation becomes. I told it not. Told it not leads to mystery. Mystery leads to, in this second verse, fear. I watered it in fears, night and morning with my tears, and sunned it with smiles, and with soft, deceitful wiles. Deceit there serving very much in the same context as mystery. Deceit. Who were we deceiving? We were deceiving the foe. We were deceiving the wrath itself. We were deceiving our own emotions here. What we are doing all the while is we are leading to a further chasm between actuality and perception. So that in the third verse here, and it grew both day and night till it bore an apple bright, and my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. The foe here is seeing the fruit of said mystery. But what does that mean? What is the fruit of mystery? The fruit of mystery which carries the seed of anger. What is going on there? Why are we seeing things in these terms? And why is it so alluring to the foe? And it grew both day and night till it bore an apple bright, and my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. If this is just a poem about someone keeping their friends close and their enemies closer, right? If we can wrangle in a few more cliches here, if this is truly about that, keeping your enemies close so that you can dagger them in the heart, what is it here in this verse that is so alluring to the foe? That apple that is shining, and the foe knows it's the speaker's. Why is that so alluring? So alluring, in fact, that here in this final stanza, and into my garden stole when the night had veiled the pole. In the morning glad I see my foe outstretched beneath the tree. The foe sneaks into the garden here under the shadow of night. Why? Why the shadow of night? Because in the night, you carry the cloak of mystery. In the night, you become the mystery which was so dearly held, I think, at the beginning in the first stanza there. If not so dearly held, so nascent to the core of what this thing would become, right? What's going on here? I believe there is an interpretation, a valid interpretation of this poem by which what we're doing is we're actually seeing the foe lust after accomplishments. Oftentimes, we have with artists, we have with businesses, we have with individuals in general. Do I have this book here? One moment, please. Well, there is a book Borromini, Bernini, and the Rivalry That Changed Rome. I thought I had it here. Or Borromini, Bernini, or Bernini, Borromini. They were two artists that were commissioned with all sorts of things around Rome. 1600s? 1400s? Bernini and Borromini, when were they? Anyway, they were two artists that were commissioned with all sorts of projects around Rome, and they kind of hated each other. And they would see one another do something and think, this son of a bitch, I'm going to do one better. I'm going to do one better. And I believe it was Bernini was commissioned with St. Peter's Basilica, and basically did something so ornate that it became grotesque and was carried with it so much verisimilitude that there were rumors that there were little golden reptiles of some sort. There were rumors that he just dipped reptiles in molten gold, and that's why they had so much verisimilitude. So I think what's going on here in this interpretation of the poem, the reason I bring this up is that there is an interpretation of this poem by which we can see the foe is lured into the garden, lured near to the tree, the poison tree, lured to his own demise by lust of our speaker's accomplishment, by lust of what it is our speaker has indeed accomplished, has indeed brought to reality. This would keep with William Blake's insistence on biblical themes. The Garden of Eden created by God, the garden of our speaker, who is here creator. The speaker is angry with the foe. By this interpretation, what I'm saying here, the speaker is angry with the foe and gets so pissed off that indeed he consumes himself in the act of creation. Whether that is here poetry, whether that is Bernini and Borromini's architecture, paintings, and they did something else, I can't remember. Sculpture. Whether that is between Leonardo and Michelangelo, one of them saying that, oh, well, I'm a painter, I don't do all that. Was it Raphael? I'm blanking. Anyway, Leonardo and one of the other Ninja Turtles it was not Donatello, though. It was either Raphael or Michelangelo. They hated each other, so they would try to be more famous than one another. So I'm losing myself in historical examples of this, but I think what's going on here is that the speaker has consumed himself in this act of creation and created something so beautiful, so true, that the foe, the subject of the poem, has become so jealous that he's consumed himself with the act of pursuing that same creation and ruined himself. I don't think this is about vengeance through murder. I think that it's about someone being so angry that he pursues the act of creation, bearing fruit, the fruit of labor, if we can continue with cliches, and is so successful with demonic work ethic that he managed to bear fruit, that he managed to create this garden. In anger, our speaker planted this tree to be harvested later. This tree bearing the fruit of art so true, or business so successful, or whatever the example would be for whoever the speaker would be. He set up with the fruits of his labor a thing so true that the foe had no choice but to pursue, and in his pursuit could not replicate, and ended up like the phoenix, ended up consuming himself in that pursuit. I think there is an interpretation, a valid interpretation for this poem, that it is about success being the sweetest revenge. If I can go ahead and continue with my pursuit of cliches in this video. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. I hope to have you back for another poetry discussion, for the next poetry discussion, and we're cruising towards 100 poetry discussions on this channel. And I think for that 100th poetry discussion, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open it up, and instead of talking about a whole lot of one poem, I will talk a little about a whole lot of poems, and sort of hopefully introduce someone somewhere who would be watching to a new poem about something. And it's probably going to go long. It's probably not going to be a 15-minute video. But again, I hope to have you back for that video, and I hope to have you here for other videos in the poetry discussion playlist, as well as the poetry review playlist here on the channel.